right, we are live in the trenches with Dave Lapham after an exciting day for all Bengals fans. Dave was, excited to get this live stream going and talk about the day. Dave, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, the Cincinnati Bengals just pulled off a big piece of history. I'll tell you that in terms of the organization. I was real happy to see Mike Brown and Zach Taylor up on that stage in Kansas City on the road, taking AFC championship crown. This football team has set a couple of records. The first team to win a playoff game on the road, and now with the third AFC championship victory in tow, it's the first team that has won the AFC championship on the road. The final thing is to go to, I don't know if it's a neutral site or not. If the Rams win, Soho's their home stadium. But if the 49ers win, it'll be a neutral site and could be the first team to win the Super Bowl. And when you think about it, that is just mind-boggling. And to come from behind 21-3 on the road in Arrowhead to the Chiefs, who since 11-1, right? The last game they lost was Halloween. So since 11-1, they're 11-1. Now they're 11-2. In the last 13 games, 11-2, counting playoffs. The two losses to the Cincinnati Bengals. 11 other games they won since November 1st. So that says something about this Cincinnati Bengals football team. And for the second time in a row, the Bengals came from behind, down 14 points 3 times on January 2nd in the regular season game. Down 14-0, 21-7, 28-14. They were down 21-3 in this football game, come from behind and beat them. In the second half of both of the football games, the defense allowed 3 points after allowing 28 in the first half at Paul Brown Stadium and 21 in the first half in this football game today. It's like it was a Charles Dickens novel, volume 2. Tale of Two Halves. Instead of Tale of Two Cities, Tale of Two Halves. And they wrote the story twice against the same football team. So the Kansas City Chiefs have to understand and have to realize in 2021, 2022, the Cincinnati Bengals were the better football team. They proved it twice. They proved it in Paul Brown Stadium, and they proved it at Arrowhead. Incredible, indescribable, amazing. I mean, I can't come up with the right adjective. It's just, it really is. Who would have ever thunk in August and September that this football team would be going to Super Bowl 56? And as I was sitting there reflecting, I'm thinking, man, I played in Super Bowl 16. This is Super Bowl 56, 40 years. Where's all the time gone? That's crazy, too. I couldn't be happier for Mike Brown, his family, the Blackburns, Zach Taylor, all the coaches, all the players. It's an unbelievable bond, and that it'll never be forgotten. And how about some of the football players that made big plays in this football game? Who would have thought Trent Taylor was going to be the guy to receive the pass in the 2-point conversion? What? When did they install that play? How many times did they run that play? How many times did they practice that play? And he was wide open for that 2-point conversion. How about the gift that keeps on giving? The Billy Price or B.J. Hill trade. B.J. Hill tips the ball to himself as a defensive tackle for an interception. What? These guys, when they look at the box score and you look at the summary of the game and when highlights are run by NFL Films or whatever, these two guys are going to be part of the history of that AFC Championship game. B.J. Hill and Trent Taylor. You talk about everybody was making plays for this football team, and that's what it takes to win a football game when you're down 21-3 on the road in an AFC Championship game, and it's a hostile environment. You can't hear anything. Unbelievable. I tip my cap to everybody, and boy, Vonn Bell, it was funny during the game when the Bengals were in that final red zone goal line stand inside the 5-yard. I said, boy, if Vonn Bell could make an interception. You know, we've had an interception from Pat Pratt, had an interception from Wilson, had an interception from Bates in that playoff game last week. What about Vonn Bell? Vonn Bell's the other guy in the middle of the football field. Love to see him make the play. Well, it didn't happen in that low red zone, but it happened in the overtime. And in the last 13, I think it's 13 AFC Championship games. I think it's at least 13. The team that lost the coin toss, now has won for only the second or third time, I think it is, the Cincinnati Bengals pulling it off today. You lose that coin toss, it's tough to win in overtime. The defense gets a takeaway, the offense finishes it. And how about Money Mac? 12 field goals in 3 games, 4 per game. When I flew out here, I was sitting right behind his dad, right in front of his brothers. And it's incredible. His younger brother just got a scholarship to Auburn. His younger brother was the holder when Evan McPherson kicked a 60-yard field goal in high school to set the high school record. His brother just broke it this year, 61-yard field goal. His coach let him kick a 66-yarder. 68-yarder in a game. He came up about a yard short. In high school, it's a touchback if it crosses the goal line instead of spotting the ball where the hold is in the NFL. So the coach thought he'd take a chance at it, and he almost hit a 68-yarder. So there's another McPherson coming. These guys are amazing. And his older brother kicked at Louisiana Tech and had a great career as a kicker. So, man, the McPherson family. And we've got a podcast coming up on this week. I've set it up with Mr. McPherson. We're going to be catching up with him to talk about the kicking McPhersons during the course of this week. So while I was traveling with them, try to take care of a little business, Dave, and hooked him up as a podcast guest. And it'll be a lot of fun talking to Mr. McPherson.
Awesome. You're with In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. We always want to thank First Star Logistics for everything they do for us to present this to you. And Dave, let's take care of a little business here. A lot of people came in and posted some questions, so we'll try to get these and kind of go through these because the goal is to do at least 30 minutes. We'll see how this goes. And if not, we'll probably follow up sometime during the next week with another live stream. And so basically, Dave, everyone going into this game was asking, even prior to this game, who did you want to play, the Chiefs or the Bills? It's basically the same question. Do you want to play the San Francisco 49ers or do you want to play the Rams?
I personally would like to see the Bengals face the San Francisco 49ers for the third time and get that monkey, get that gorilla off the franchise's back. Have this football team be the first team to win a Super Bowl and to get restitution against the team that knocked the Bengals off in their first 2 Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl 16 and Super Bowl 23. Although it'd be quite interesting if they play the Rams and Andrew Whitworth connection. Big Whit still playing with the Rams, had a great career, obviously, with the Cincinnati Bengals as well. So there's always storylines in every Super Bowl, and no matter who wins and plays against the Bengals in Super Bowl 56, there'll be plenty to talk about. There's no question about that. But I would like to see it be the 49ers because everybody that played in those 2 Super Bowls and lost to the 49ers, still a little blood in the eye, like to get a little revenge and knock off the 49ers. That would be awesome.
What was it like for you today, Dave, to see this team get to this point? Because, when we talk about faces of the franchise, you're one of those. You've been around as a player and many years now as an analyst. It had to be thrilling when that game came to an end and you got to hit the bam, bam, bam again after Dan Horde's coffin nails.
It's pretty amazing because when you look at it, 2 years ago, they're 2-14 and kind of the laughing stock. So it's in my mind, it's the biggest turnaround in NFL history. In a matter of 3 seasons, you go from the dregs of the NFL to playing in the Super Bowl. I don't think that's ever been done before. I certainly can't recall it. So the dramatic turnaround, and you got to feel good for Mike Brown. He's been criticized heavily for being overly patient, and Zach Taylor has gone on record saying that it's probably the only franchise in the NFL where he would have gotten a third bite of the apple, would have gotten that third season. Most every other team in the NFL would have parted ways with Zach Taylor with a 6-25-1 record over his first 2 seasons. But the Bengals believed, and they kept chipping away in the draft and free agency. And most of the decisions they made in that regard, draft, free agency, trade, Billy Price with B.J. Hill, they've all panned out. A good high percentage of them have panned out. So everybody's suit is dirty when things are going poorly. Everybody's suit is clean on the flip side of it when things turn around. Everybody should take a bow. –
And we seem to have lost Dave's audio there for some reason. We got you back, Dave? Some reason his phone is muted. Dave may have to leave us a second and come back. And I want to kind of go through some of these numbers. We wait for Dave to come back. Joe Burrow, 23 of 38, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Joe Mixon, 21 carries, 88 yards. T. Higgins, 6 receptions, 103. And we've got Dave back. Are you back with us, Dave?
I don't know what happened there, Dave.
It's technology. Technology at its best.
Yeah.
Dave, Randy Byers asked this question. I'm sure you and I both, we've had the chance to have CJ Uzomah on several times throughout the season. Any thoughts on CJ's injury?
Yeah, I know it's a knee injury, and he wasn't allowed to come back in the football game. I don't know the extent of it. I don't know if he's looking at a surgery type injury. I don't know if it's a sprain or a strain. Obviously, the way it ended for him today, I wonder if he can make it in a couple of weeks to the Super Bowl. Hopefully, if it's a mild sprain, he might have a shot. But if it's more than that, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have a chance to participate in the Super Bowl, which is very unfortunate because he's had a great year as a player and as a leader of this football team. He's definitely somebody that a lot of players, just about every player and coach, look up to. The role that he fills for this organization and this football team. But, it'll be one of those situations where if CJ Uzomah can't play, it'll be a motivation for his teammates to get it done for him because they feel that way about CJ Uzomah. They'd probably dedicate Super Bowl 56 to CJ Uzomah. It wouldn't surprise me.
Randy came back with a second one talking about the defense. I tweeted out on my Twitter account that Lou Anarumo made the adjustments coming out of halftime that changed the course of this football game. And even after the game, Joe Burrow, Lou went up to Joe and Joe said, there's the man. There's the man that helped us get this game. Unbelievable performance by the defense in the second half. You kind of touched on it, but, we've been lucky enough to have Lou throughout the season as well. And very happy for a guy that a lot of Bengals fans, I think, a year ago would have liked to seen elsewhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when things are bad, everybody's raining on everybody's parade. There's no question about it. It's a lonely place. You don't have a lot of friends out there. But now there's a lot of people on the bandwagon. There's no question about it. The wagon's getting bigger and bigger, and more people are jumping on that bad boy for sure. Absolutely. And, I think it was adjustments that were made in terms of disguising a little bit differently into what they were looking, what Mahomes was looking at, because in the first half, Mahomes was very comfortable with what he was seeing, and he was reading the football field and the coverages very well, and he was making quick decisions. In the second half, rushed 3 and dropped 8 quite a bit and made things a lot more sticky on the back end, and they just plastered people. There was nowhere for Mahomes to go with the football, and he was holding that football forever and running around like Fran Tarkenton back there, extending and creating plays. I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine into the 60s, quarterback named Fran Tarkenton that played for the Giants and the Minnesota Vikings. And he was his mobility was what quarterbacks are doing today. Back then it was unheard of. It's like, what is this guy? Everybody was a pocket passer back then, and Fran Tarkenton was running around creating and extending plays. That's what Mahomes was looking like today. And in the second half, he wasn't sure what he was seeing. They did a tremendous job of giving him a one-look pre-snap. When he went to confirm it on post-snap, it wasn't the same. And like I said many times, great coaches make different things look the same and same things look different. And that's exactly what Lou Anarumo did at halftime. He made those kind of adjustments with respect to disguising his coverages, and it paid huge dividends. The other thing is the players settled in. The players settled in a little bit and felt pretty comfortable with what they were doing in the second half. And in this sport, once plays start to be made, it's contagious. Like I said, look at some of the guys that made big plays in this football game. Eli Apple flashed again. He had a pass interference penalty that gave the Chiefs a 1st and goal at the 1 yard line. And boy, did he make up for it. When Andy Reid decided to go for it, with like 5 seconds left in the half, and he tried, the decision to not put points on the board ended up being a brutal one. I thought the play selection was a little bit questionable to get the ball all the way out there on the perimeter. Obviously, though, you have an absolute stud out there, Tyreek Hill, in a one-on-one situation on Eli Apple. I bet if they run that 100 times, Tyreek Hill wins more times than Eli Apple does. But when it counted, Eli Apple made the tackle and made the play. So he made up for his pass interference penalty by making that tackle. They're off the field with no points. That was huge to get no points in that red zone drive in a football game the way this one ended up. So Eli Apple makes plays. Trent Taylor, B.J. Hill. I mean, when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals roster, these guys aren't ones that you would pick out and say, yeah, I bet this guy and this guy and this guy make plays in the AFC Championship game. But history's going to have their names. And it's making plays, game-deciding plays in an AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And how about Andy Reid having a losing record at home in the AFC Championship game with all the skins on the wall that he has? The Bengals gave him another loss at home in the AFC Championship. Sometimes you just can't figure this game out. It's crazy.
Right now, I want to give an update. I've got on the screen over here on my side. The 49ers up 17-7 with about 1:49 left in the third quarter.
How about the 49ers have beaten the Rams 6 straight times? They swept them 3 years in a row. If they knock them off in this playoff game, 7 straight times, McVay will have lost to Shanahan. How about those apples? Man.
Dave, one of the things I thought was interesting before the game started, CBS had the game. Boomer Esiason, who's been on In the Trenches with us, is part of that crew. The only one to pick the Bengals to be the winner today off of the panel. And it's going to be interesting because NBC has the Super Bowl and Chris Collinsworth's going to call the Super Bowl with the Bengals. You guys can have a little reunion.
Yeah, really. I mean, it'd be very interesting. I was watching the pregame shows. I watched NFL Network. 3 of the 4 analysts on NFL Network picked the Bengals. And then I watched ESPN, and more ESPN analysts picked the Bengals than not. So it's kind of interesting that CBS went the other way. But I'm not surprised. I mean, I think a lot of people, obviously the Bengals were a 7-point underdog. That's a significant point spread in a championship game like that. So the Bengals surprised a lot of people. But, Boomer Esiason, I'm glad he picked the Cincinnati Bengals. And he said a couple of times during the course of the week, said, I didn't realize how big of a fan I still am until the team started performing at the level they're performing at. And there's nothing wrong with a guy who, basically the organization gave him a chance to show who he was as a quarterback and as a human being and broadcaster and everything else. You're going to feel something for that organization. You're going to feel something for the people that gave you that opportunity and that chance. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's human beings. That's human nature. So, the heck with people that Boomer Esiason, he shouldn't want the Cincinnati Bengals to do well. Why the hell not? Are you kidding me? I got no problem with it. None at all.
Yeah, that's when you think of number 7, you think of him as a Bengal no matter where else he played at. He's always going to be a Cincinnati Bengal.
Absolutely.
I'm looking to see. We got a lot of comments. Everyone's excited. A lot of who days. How amazing everything is. Screaming. A lot of comments from grown men about the crying they've had since the kick by Evan McPherson. So in fact, I talked to my son who's 35, who's down in the Air Force, who's lifelong Bengal fan, and he was choked up because the last time the Bengals were in the Super Bowl, he was like 2. I mean, so he was real young. So
Well, I've been fortunate. The third opportunity I'll have, and the first two came pretty quickly. I played in 1981-82 season, Super Bowl 16, and then when I got done playing for that Super Bowl experience, and I was absolutely, relished that opportunity. And then I get into the broadcast end of it, and like 2 or 3 years into broadcasting, I ended up in the Super Bowl covering the Cincinnati Bengals on radio in 1988-89. So it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. It's happened twice in this decade. We're going to be looking at a lot of Super Bowls. 33 years between Super Bowl broadcasts. So it's been a little while. It's been a minute. And it's very exciting to go back to the Super Bowl and to broadcast 2 Super Bowls on radio here with the Cincinnati Bengals on the Cincinnati Bengals radio network, 33 years apart. I wonder how many guys have had a chance to broadcast Super Bowls for the same team on their local radio network 33 years apart. That's quite a while. Very lucky.
That brings me to Cincy fan, Jungle City. Could this be the start of a new dynasty? I don't want to get ahead of myself, but our future looks pretty bright. Maybe that's why Joe Burrow is always wearing shades.
When you look at it, we've talked about this before. Joe Burrow threw for over 4,000, almost 5,000 yards. If he played against Cleveland, he may have gotten 5,000 yards passing. Joe Mixon rushed for over 1,000. In fact, he rushed for over 1,200 yards. And then 2 receivers, one went for over 1,400, and the other one for over 1,000. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. All of them are 26 years old and younger. First time that's ever happened in the NFL, ever. So you got to figure this football team has a very bright future. The skill players, the star skill players are young. The coaches are young. It could be, but the thing is, you never know. You can never take anything for granted in the National Football League. But I do think not only the way these guys approach the game physically, the way they approach it mentally, and first and foremost, front and center, the way Joe Burrow approaches things mentally, I don't think they're going to be a flame that burns out. I think they're going to be a flame that gets larger and larger, and pretty soon it becomes a little bit of a controlled fire, and you're warming your whole house here. It's not just a little flame. I think that they could be very, very special as a group. I really do. If they stay together, free agency is a different dynamic. You have a situation now where a quarterback's in his rookie contract, and Joe Burrow is going to command a good chunk of change. There's no doubt about it. It's well earned, well deserved. How much will they have to take the football team apart to be able to pay Joe Burrow? What will Joe Burrow's mindset be in that regard? When you go to the table, here's what I'm worth. But if that's the case and I get paid that amount, and this teammate and that teammate are no longer teammates, all these things are factored in when you have salary cap issues and you have to try to build a franchise the best way you possibly can. So the best thing to do is to capitalize while you have a young star quarterback on a rookie contract like Joe Burrow is. And here they are, going to the Super Bowl. Pretty good. The only way to take advantage of it a little bit more is to win the darn thing. And let's see if they can get it done.
Dave, in the summer, we had a chance to go down to Paul Brown Stadium and spend a little bit of time with Mike Brown. Talk about your thoughts on Mr. Brown being able to get up on that stage, be presented that trophy one more time, and really kind of, I think fans were excited to see that he's getting that chance to celebrate this team. But like I said, you've been around as a player, analyst. What was it like for you to see him up there on that stage getting the Lamar Hunt trophy?
I can't think of a better present, whatever you want to term it, accomplishment for an 86-year-old man at this stage of his life than to be part of a Super Bowl team. And he loves football. It's the only family business. They're not a family that owns all these billion-dollar businesses, and they own a football team as a little bit of an aside to entertain their big business friends. Why don't you come watch my guys play football? This is their life. They don't have 3 other operations that, are their family's main concern, and they don't really have much to do with the football team. All they do is capitalize it. They live and die with this football team on a daily basis. Mike Brown is out there on the practice field in a golf cart, no matter what the weather, rain, snow, hail, sleet, it doesn't matter. He's like the mailman. He's there every single day, witnessing every single practice. He's in his office at the Crown. I mean, he still works at it, and he's always wanted to have success. I mean, it's been his life. So to go to the Super Bowl for the third time with such a time frame between the first two Super Bowls and this one, I can't be happier for him. And I know Zach Taylor and Mike Brown probably have a relationship that will never, ever be broken, because Zach Taylor appreciates Mike Brown giving him the opportunity and then letting him fulfill the opportunity when it didn't go well the first couple of years. So these two guys have a bond that is unique, to say the least. And I feel great for everybody, for Mike, for his family, for the Blackburns, you know, his daughter, his son-in-law, for his son Paul, his family, his wife Nancy. I mean, you know, all the coaches and their families, the players and all their families. I mean, everybody. The city is on fire right now. Right here in Kansas City, there was a bunch of orange and black, and I'm staying in a hotel where a lot of Bengal fans stayed over the weekend. And man, I mean, everybody's like, hey, come on over here. Let's take a picture. Let's take a group picture. Let's hooday. I mean, it's been crazy, the support. There were all kinds of orange and black with clothing fans outside of the stadium that couldn't even get a ticket, but they wanted to be close to the site and wanted to be part of it. And it was amazing to see how many of them were there and how many of them stayed for a long time after the football game. It took us a while to get back here to the hotel. I mean, that traffic was crazy. And a lot of it was orange and black. I mean, it's been nuts. There's no question about it. The city, this football team has captivated this city and the tri-state area. There's no doubt.
You are in the trenches with Dave Lapham, live streaming after the Bengals' big win over the Kansas City Chiefs to claim the AFC Championship and punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. And an update, Rams just scored 17-14 in the fourth quarter, about 13-30 in the fourth quarter. Let me kind of go through here. A lot of great comments. Someone had posted I think it was the price for the last Super Bowl was $40 for a ticket. And I guess they looked up a ticket now and it's $6,000 for this Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think I remember the first Super Bowl. I'm trying to remember if it was $75 or was it $150 were the most expensive tickets, I think, for the Super Bowl that year. I think it might have been $150 were the best seats. You could probably get one for $40 up top in the nosebleed sections, the 300 sections of the stadium or whatever. Yeah, it's well, now the National Football League is a $17 billion industry as opposed to what it was back then. It certainly wasn't anywhere near that. How about the Cincinnati Bengals and Paul Brown? The franchise fee for the Cincinnati Bengals in 1968 was $6 million. Now it's worth $1 billion, $1 billion, probably over $1.5 billion. It's crazy. The National Football League has become, I mean, just like IBM. When people say IBM, that carries some clout. When people say NFL, everybody knows what you're talking about. Around the world, that carries clout, just like IBM. I mean, it is one of those, it's not Fortune 500, not Fortune 50. It's like Fortune 10. I mean, it's big time. It really is.
Again, you're with Dave Lapham in the trenches, presented by First Star Logistics. As some have posted, make sure you hit the like button. We would appreciate that. Helps us grow the channel. And right now, the Rams and Niners still fighting out to see who will get to play Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Dave, I wanted to bring up, you kind of touched on it. We talked about the defense, the fourth quarter overtime, the play of Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson. You could tell, and we've talked about it throughout the season, those guys were selling out on every single play.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the H-boys, they empty the effort bucket. For Sam Hubbard to get sacks on back-to-back plays, Sam Hubbard. I mean, who does that? Who does that? I wonder how many people have done that in the history of the AFC Championship game. That's worth looking up. How many defensive players have have sacks on back-to-back plays in an AFC Championship game? And this guy's a Moeller High School, Ohio State, local guy, Cincinnati Bengal. He's all Ohio all the time, and he's in the Cincinnati location in high school and in his professional career, with a stop in the middle up there in Columbus. Unbelievable. Great guy, phenomenal football player. He's just he reflects tremendously well with the community. I mean, he basically is a beacon of light for the city of Cincinnati and the tri-state community. Sam Hubbard is big time, and he played extremely well. And Hendrickson did a great job as well. I mean, he was working against Orlando Zeus Brown, pretty darn good player that the Chiefs got in free agency from the Baltimore Ravens. And Hendrickson got himself a sack as well, and was involved with pressures. And even the three-man rush eventually got home, because it goes hand in hand. The coverage was so good. I mean, Mahomes had the ball in his hand for probably about 7 seconds. But ultimately, finally, they were able to corral him and leverage him and get him on the ground. It was just a great performance by the edge guys, the effort guys, Hendrickson and Hubbard.
Dave, talk about, I mean, and I want to go, here was a post by King of Gotham, Portland, CB number 25. Basically talks about the roster went through an overhaul, got rid of some toxicity. You were around this team a lot. I know it's been different the last couple of years with COVID, but you get a different feeling about this team when we start talking about the individuals. And you mentioned a guy like Sam Hubbard being a hometown guy, a Kevin Huber, another hometown guy, a Marcus Bailey, who's from the Columbus area, Joe Burrow, who's from Athens. How much has the overhaul of this roster changed the mentality of this team?
Well, I think I asked Zach Taylor, what was the non-negotiable factor when you were evaluating players, either in free agency or the draft, during the course of your rebuild? And he looked at me and he said, they have to love football. And that's first and foremost. Every single guy on this football team, the most important thing to them is football. They don't have any other, ulterior motives about anything. They're not out to use football to publicize themselves, to leverage some of their opportunity wherever it may be. These guys are all football all the time, and there's no jerk factor. I mean, I'd say over the last 2 years, when they spent over $100 million each year in free agency, and then they hit on draft picks, because unfortunately, with the record they had the first pick of the draft the year they drafted Joe Burrow, and timing's everything. What a great year to have the first pick of the draft. I mean, if you're going to have a bad season and say, how are we going to rebuild this thing? You might as well put yourself in position to get a guy like Joe Burrow. And they did. And it's probably the single most factor in the turnaround of the organization, bringing Joe Burrow into the fold. And then the following year, they have a top 5 pick, the 5th pick of the draft. You win 4 football games and tie 1. You get Jamar Chase. Now you get the 1-2 punch of the Bayou Bengals, and they're now Bengal Tigers. So, I mean, they put their bat on the ball. They didn't whiff on a lot of draft picks, and they did a good job in free agency. And they drafted and signed a lot of guys that had been captains. So not only were they high-quality players, they were high-quality leaders, people, and there's no jerk factor in the locker room. That locker room is as close as any locker room I've ever been a part of or ever witnessed, any locker room I've ever observed or been a part of. I mean, these guys have a love for each other. It's real. It's real. And they go to war for each other. And, they have each other's back. There's no doubt about it. When Joe Burrow had his interception, what did the defense do? I mean, they faced sudden change a bunch this year. There's no problem, Joe. We've tied the game. You've done a great job moving the football. We've tied the football game. Get your back. Punted the football. They didn't get anything out of it. Got nothing out of that takeaway. And the Bengals got the ball back at the 24, 25-yard line, and game on. Here we go. So they're playing complementary football, offense, defense, special teams. And the thing is, as people, they're all complementary as well. I mean, one supports the other. One's got the other's back. Every player on that team is important to each other. It's like a big family. I've heard players talking about it quite a bit down the stretch. And, it's like you can have the age-old argument, what comes first, culture or winning? Well, you can have that argument until you're blue in the face. All I know is you have to have good culture to win, and winning does help to establish good culture. So initially, in my mind, you don't start winning till you have the right people in place to be able to, you have to, not only do you have to handle losing, you have to handle winning. You have to handle winning the right way as well. And a lot of people don't do that as a football team. This football team has handled it beautifully, remarkably well.
I'm going to give you a two-part question. Cincy fan from Jungle City asked about Riley Reef. Any chance he could come back for the Super Bowl, or is he's done for the year?
He's on injured reserve. He's done for the year.
Done for the year. The other thing is we always get asked about Thaddeus Moss. Now with CJ Uzomah possibly out, do we finally see Thaddeus Moss on an active roster?
Yeah, he's been put on injured reserve as well. So I'm not sure what their status is in terms of how long a period of time they've been on injured reserve. You have to be on injured reserve X number of weeks before you can be even activated and have a 20-day window to start working out. I don't think either of them are in that range in terms of weeks that they've been on injured reserve that they can be activated and put in that 20-day window to work out with the football team. So right now, my gut reaction is I know Riley Reef is I think Riley may have had some surgery. He had a damaged foot, a broken foot. And I think, Larry Ogunjobi, I think, is in the same boat. He's got a broken foot. And Thaddeus Moss, I do recall he went from the practice squad to the injured reserve group as well. So we'll have to just see what kind of time frame we're talking about there. And I don't think 2 weeks is going to be. I don't think it's going to happen for any of those players we're talking about.
Eric Chavin's had a question about free agency for next year. Let's keep that for another day because we're going to do more live streams going forward.
I will say, though, in terms of free agency and the draft, free agency, I would try to find the biggest, baddest, best offensive lineman that I can possibly find that is somewhat affordable. There has to be, you can't break the bank to the point where your salary cap is just upside down. But, man, whoever it is, whoever you can find, the Bengals, they're in the Super Bowl. They're going to be everybody's short list. They're going to be everybody's top 3, top 5 teams I want to talk to. It wasn't like that 2 years ago, obviously. But now they have Joe Burrow, who's on a rookie contract. If I'm an offensive lineman that's got experience in the league and I've proven I'm a good player and I'm out there in the market and I can have a choice of what team I want to go to, heck yeah, I'm putting the Cincinnati Bengals on my list. So, yeah, I would definitely see how that stacks out, see what offensive linemen are going to be on that list. If the teams don't re-sign these guys, if they want to get out into free agency and see what else is out there. And same thing in the draft. I'd really put a heavy emphasis on offensive line. You can never have enough good defensive backs. Put an emphasis on that as well, but not necessarily anywhere near as much of an emphasis I'd put on the offensive line for sure, Dave.
17-14, 9:55 as far as what I've got on my monitor to my left in the fourth quarter. The Rams have the football. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out. Dave, a lot of comments about you and Dan Horde getting the chance to call a Super Bowl game. How's it feel?
Yeah, I got an opportunity to broadcast Super Bowl 23 with Phil Samp and Ken Anderson. And that was, I don't know how many guys, there's been obviously a few guys, but I don't know how many have had a chance to play in a Super Bowl and then broadcast in one as well. So I consider myself extremely fortunate. Like I've said in the past, Takeo Spikes played 15 years in the NFL, never played in a playoff game. Merlin Olsen played 15 years in the NFL, never won a championship, a conference championship, never played in the Super Bowl. This guy was a 14-time Pro Bowler in 15 years. So to get to a Super Bowl and play in one is a dream come true. It's a heck of an opportunity. And then get into the broadcast end of it, and the team that you're broadcasting makes it to the Super Bowl and you get to broadcast it, dream come true. Now I get a chance to broadcast 2 of them. So now, and how many guys have been able to play in a Super Bowl and broadcast 2? Well, all these guys are on the networks, Troy Aikmans of the world and all those guys. Yeah, there's got Chris Collinsworth, guys like that. But I mean, there's not that many. You're not talking about a big population of people there. That there's only 32 teams in the NFL, so it's not a big sample size that you're drawing from. So I consider myself very, very fortunate. There's only 32 color guys in the National Football League, color analysts, and now this year I get to be one of the 2 that are in the Super Bowl and had been in that situation before. So very, very lucky, very, very fortunate, and looking forward to it big time. There's no doubt.
All right, you're in the trenches with Dave Lapham. Dave, we've been on a little over 40 minutes. I'll let you call when we want to end this because you are still in Kansas City. Your flight doesn't leave until Monday. And
yeah, we leave at 6
a.m.
a.m. I have a 3:30 wake up call. We have a 6 o'clock flight tomorrow morning. We have to fly from Kansas City to Washington, D.C., and then back to Cincinnati. So, I mean, it is crazy. There's no direct flights anymore into Cincinnati, and it is nuts, man. We're going to be in the air for a long time.
You got lucky because I saw some guys had to drive to Kansas City because their flights were canceled from CVG to Kansas City.
Yeah, well, I think if I leave at 6 in the morning, I'd probably get home sooner driving than I would flying to Washington, D.C. and laying over and flying into Cincinnati. It's nuts. It is crazy, but
you get to eat some of that good airport food. Get to eat some of that good airport food.
Yeah.
I'm going to look here real quick, Dave. Any last, because like I said, we want to thank everybody for being part of the live stream. Thanks for your comments. Apologize we couldn't get to them all to get them up on screen. A lot of people cheering on this team to win a Super Bowl, something that I know, Dave, you want to see. And you know what? Let's talk about Jackson Carman because he got thrown into the fire again today and looked like he stepped up.
Yeah, I think he played pretty well. It was almost it wasn't quite like a messenger guard system that Paul Brown used to run, where he'd run plays in with a messenger guard, and they'd come running in and tell the quarterback the play that Paul Brown wanted from the sideline. But they were alternating series in there. Some, there was it wasn't necessarily every other series all the time, but he definitely got a taste. He had a great block on Samaje Perine's 41-yard screen pass for a touchdown. He had the initial block that sprung Samaje Perine, and Jamar Chase had one further down the football field that helped Samaje finalize that. That turned into a big, big play, obviously, for the Bengals. And in the first half of the football game, and for pretty much the entire football game, it was horizontal throwing, short, intermediate passes. Kansas City Chiefs were putting pretty good pressure on Joe Burrow, and they were playing rush 4 and drop 7 into coverage. So, it wasn't easy. Joe had to get the ball out of his hand pretty darn quickly and did a pretty good job of making guys miss. How about Chris Jones that one time? Grabbed Joe high. Joe made him miss. And then he dove at his ankles and tried to bring him down. He made him miss high, made him miss low, and then ran to the sideline and turned up the sideline and rushed for a first down, moved the sticks for the Bengals. And that frustrates big defensive linemen to be chasing the quarterback around like that and have him just slip away and extend the drive. So Joe Burrow, I'm telling you, the guy is unflappable, doesn't flinch. He is just a cold-blooded quarterback, man. He'll stare you down and beat you. That's what Joe Burrow's all about.
We're going to post this one here. Romeo 5 Hotel. Bengals need one more win to match the franchise record of 14 set by the 81-88 teams. Number 14 this time means a lot more.
I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't catch all of that.
Romeo 5 Hotel. says Bengals need one more win to match the franchise record of 14 set by the 81 and 88 teams. Number 14 this time means a lot more.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There were 17 games in the season, so you had an extra crack at it. But yeah, if you can get that 14th victory and go 14-7 overall, and win twice as many games as you've lost, but most importantly, walk away with that Super Bowl title as the best football team on the planet in the professional level, that would mean everything. And don't count this football team out. They've already played the San Francisco 49ers and went to overtime, and it was anybody's football game. So the way this team has come back twice against the Kansas City Chiefs, the way they've competed and played defensively as well as offensively in the playoffs, San Francisco 49ers with Shanahan. Shanahan is brilliant. Shanahan schemes a running game as well as anybody in the National Football League. He has all kinds of personnel groupings, formations, window dressing with motion, and he makes linebackers and safeties not trust their eyes. He's very, very difficult to game plan against. He's got an outstanding scheme, and he also schemes guys open in the passing game. But I'm telling you, I would take Joe Burrow over Jimmy Garoppolo any day of the week and twice on Sunday. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a great player. I think he's you're not, if you're a quarterback in the National Football League, you can get it done. But Joe Burrow is different. He's special, man. Got a capital S. I'd take Joe Burrow in a single elimination Super Bowl matchup over Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's not just about the quarterback. That's the thing. And everybody else is going to have to step up and get their job done, because the 49ers are going to try to run the ball right down your throat and then play action pass with Jimmy Garoppolo. So if you can control that running game, Jimmy Garoppolo is in a much more difficult situation, because the space between the linebackers and the safeties isn't as big. When that running game's going, the linebackers have to come downhill. There's a big space behind them and in front of the safeties to throw the football. If they're not running the ball that great, it's not that big of a space, and you have to thread the needle a little bit more. So that's what it's all about. And we'll see how it unfolds. 49ers will be, either one of these football teams, Rams or 49ers, it's not going to be a walk in the park. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals aren't going to be a walk in the park either. I think they can beat either football team. There's no doubt about it.
All right, we went 48 minutes, just under 50 minutes, Dave. We're going to let you get out of here, get some dinner, rest your voice, get yourself ready for that early call to catch your flight back to Cincinnati. It'll be a busy 2 weeks getting ready for Super Bowl 56. So we want to thank everybody being part of the live stream. Dave Lapham in the Trenches, presented by First Star Logistics. Final thoughts from Mr. Dave Lapham.
Well, it's just an unbelievable performance by the Cincinnati Bengals today. I just think that the resiliency that they showed, the never quit, never give up attitude that they showed, is something that they felt like they've had the entire season. The one thing about this football team is you have to beat them. You have to finish them. They're not going to go easily. They're not going to lie down, and they're going to fight. There's a lot of fight in this football team, and they're exactly where they felt like they were going to be. There were people that thought that they were going to be a Super Bowl contender, and that's everybody that was in that locker room, the Cincinnati Bengals, the players, coaches, trainers, equipment guys, management, everybody associated with that organization felt like they had a legitimate shot, and they proved it. Talk is cheap. You can talk all you want about it. You got to go out and prove it. And this football team has put it on the line and proven it time and time again. I admire what they've done. I know how hard it is. I know the bond that it creates when you do have success like these guys have had. There's nothing better than having the ultimate challenge and conquering it. And that's what these guys are on the cusp of doing. They've climbed that ladder of success. Joe Burrow is getting close to having more playoff wins than any quarterback in franchise history. He's won his first 3 playoff games. He's amongst the all-time leaders at the quarterback position. Quarterback wins in Cincinnati Bengals franchise history. he gets that Super Bowl win, he's the guy. 4 wins in one season, and one of them is the Super Bowl. Phew. You talk about writing your ticket to iconic, legendary status. That's what we're talking about right there with number 9, Joe Burrow.
Something he's no stranger to. Last update, 6:45 left on my screen. 17-17 tie between the Rams and the 49ers. So be sure to come with In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics this week and the following week, as we're going to have a ton of Super Bowl coverage. I guarantee you we'll be doing more live streams, and possibly as early as Tuesday, probably talking about whoever ends up winning this football game going on between the 49ers and the Rams, because this is making out to maybe been the best ever in the NFL history of a playoff, from the first wild card games until the Super Bowl.
I'm telling you, Dave, how about last week? 3 visiting kickers win the game at the gun, and then you have the classic overtime game between the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. The NFL was they were out of their minds, off the hook, and the networks were as well, all-time ratings. And then the Bengals game goes into overtime with the Chiefs. This game could very likely go into overtime between the Rams and the 49ers. Are you kidding me? I mean, you're talking about the final 8 and the final 4, man, being so competitive, decided by one play here or there. The fan base is going crazy. Like I said, the National Football League carries some cachet. There's some clout. There's some power with the National Football League on a worldwide basis. It's unbelievable.
Niners just punted the ball back to the Rams, 6:26 left in the fourth quarter. And with that, again, Dave, I appreciate you taking the time. Busy day. I know you've been up since early in the morning. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to do this live stream following a game, something that's not really seen by a lot of people. And you graciously give us your time for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. And until next time, we want to thank everybody being part of the stream. We also want to encourage you to, if you've not liked this, also subscribe to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube. Help us grow our channel, and also follow Dave at DL In the Trenches on Twitter. So until next time, for Dave Lapham, I'm Dave Burke. Thanks, everybody. Hoo-day!
Hoo-day, baby!
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.